Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is Rachael. Rachael's journey into the cosplay world and different fandoms all started when her parents forbade her from celebrating Halloween. They, of course, believed it was a pagan holiday. She didn't care. She just wanted the candy. When she moved out of the state of Wyoming, she was introduced to conventions and all the entertainment they provide. People actually dressed up and tried to emulate their favorite video games, anime, and movie characters. How are you doing today, Rachael?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for coming on to the podcast today.
Of course. It was just a really cool opportunity, and how could I say no?
I know. I found you by accident because I was looking at something on Facebook, and you popped up as one of the suggested people I should look into.
Oh, okay.
So thank you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Really?
So how would you describe fandom?
I think fandom to me would be just this specialized group of people that kind of just understand each other in other ways other than being, friends, but they connect on a deeper level through nerdy obsessions. And I myself am in that now, but I denied it for a long time. I didn't want to be called a nerd. I didn't want to be in fandom. I didn't want to do anything. But, I hit college and I was like, whatever. So many people are walking around with Legend of Zelda shirts on. I don't care anymore. It's great.
Exactly. Like, I think that's the big thing when I was in high school is that I was one of the lone people who everyone knew, oh, he's a Trekkie. I mean, he wears his uniform to places. I mean, to conventions and stuff. I didn't wear it to school or
yeah.
out and about. But they all knew, and there wasn't that many people that were like really like gung-ho about what they really liked and stuff. But once you hit college, it's kind of out the door and you just get to be whoever you want to be.
Oh yeah, like if you joined anime club in high school, it's just like, oh my god, she's one of those. She probably like sits and draws anime in her free time all the time. But, once you start cosplaying and costuming, then you really get to appreciate the detail and the hard work that goes into a costume as opposed to saying, oh my god, you're wearing a costume and it's not Halloween.
Right. Exactly. So what are you into?
Oh boy. I'm into a lot. Primarily video games. I grew up with them. I remember like maybe I was 6 or 7 and I got a PS2 because it was my sister's birthday. And the first video game that I think I played was Barbie Horse Adventures.
Oh boy.
But, when I got older, I went back and I played PS1 games, Nintendo 64 things. But I think I'm mostly into things like Kingdom Hearts, and I'm still waiting for 3. I'm probably going to be 30 by the time it comes out. It's fine. I really love Mass Effect, Fallout, Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasies. I really do like Street Fighter. However, I don't play it. I can follow along with the game instead. BioShock, The Last of Us, Uncharted, and then I guess things that aren't video game related. So I really like Ruby from Rooster Teeth. Of course, I keep up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm a hardcore fan of Disney and Disney Pixar movies. And I think one of the first anime style things that I got into cosplay wise was Avatar: The Last Airbender. So,
yay, Avatar. I love it.
It was pretty cute, even though it's like not a legitimate anime, supposedly, but I really liked it when it was airing, so I got into it.
Oh, definitely. And we can definitely talk about that in a few minutes, but first, you are majorly into video games, so you got that from starting off when your sister got a PlayStation?
I had played games when I was at friend's house and everything, but we just didn't really have the money to afford to buy systems, and like every so often new consoles come out. So anytime that I did play video games outside of when my sister got a PS2, that had to be, at friend's house when you'd play Mario Kart or like Mario Party, things like that.
Okay, and then you fell down the rabbit hole and got into Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, that it combined Final Fantasy and Disney, and I was like, this is the greatest thing of my life. And so then I fell down the rabbit hole, and welcome to nerddom.
I remember when Kingdom Hearts came out, I was so excited to play it, and then I realized that yes, I still suck at adventure games, and I cannot do third person like action games like that. I so wanted to, and I just had to end up resorting to watching either other people play it or eventually when they started uploading things to YouTube and watching it that way
Yeah.
because I cannot get past like Traverse Town. I'm
Oh.
pretty much done at that point.
Yeah, I guess like being at such a low level at first was kind of difficult, but I was just mildly annoyed that the first probably hour to hour and a half of the game had nothing to do with Disney. I saw no Disney characters. I just saw this giant like tree scary shadow thing coming at me. I think it was, let's see, came out in like what, 2003. I was probably like 8. I remember freaking out just a little bit, but I think I gave my little sister nightmares, but it's okay. She was fine. She's fine now.
She's fine now after years of therapy.
Oh yeah.
So, which Kingdom Hearts is your favorite? Because there's multiple. There's the first two, plus then there's the little side games. I guess I would call them.
um I would probably have to say Kingdom Hearts 2. I mean, I like from the original series, first off. It's probably because they optimized the gameplay a little bit better. I mean, granted, they did make it easier than the first one and, provided you with a lot more items or chances for your magic to heal you and things like that. But I just found the worlds a lot cooler, like the Land of Dragons for Mulan. Also, I didn't like playing Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 1. I hated being a
Hmm.
dolphin. I mean, it was cool, but I could not get the mechanics of trying to swim up and down very well. That was a rough time. But out of all the side ones, let's see. I haven't played Dream Drop Distance because I don't have a 3DS, so I should probably go back and read or watch videos on it. But I really did like Birth by Sleep because just hearing the backstory of how it all started was just really interesting to me.
And I know that you talked about Kingdom Hearts 3 not coming out, and that has been long rumored. Is it actually a game at this point, or are they still talking about it?
It's actually a game. It said it was going to get released over Christmas this past year. It says it's going to get released this year, but then it was pushed to 2017. So, I don't know. No one knows. No one knows.
Do you think they're going to be wrapping the game up with 3, or are they expecting to have more after it?
Honestly, I don't know. I would like them to maybe keep going, instead of releasing all these wonderful side stories, because I think 2.8 is now coming out. Like, we're slowly getting there. It started with like 1.5, then it was 2.5, and now it's 2.8, because they remastered all of the older games. I guess it would just really depend on the commercial success of it, but since so many
Hmm.
people have been waiting so many years for it, I feel like it would do extremely well. So depending on that, I just hope they don't drag it out too long and use it for a cash cow. But as long as they keep being consistent and putting out like decent games, I think people will keep buying them.
Are you a Sora fan or a Riku fan?
Oh no. I mean, I relate with Sora, but I also relate with Riku just because he struggles with a lot of things internally, and it's through his friends and the ones that love him that bring light into his eyes and just keep him on the path to light, or just keep you straight. So I've struggled quite a bit in life, so I feel like I relate more to Riku, but I really do like Sora's overall positivity for everything.
And which character, when they showed up in any of the Kingdom Hearts games, were you most like giddy about or shocked, and you were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe like this person is in the game"?
mm, let's see. I thought it was really cool how they put Pirates of the Caribbean into, because I just thought it was so cool with, seeing Will Turner and Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth in the game. I remember when they put Stitch as a summon. That was pretty cool. And then getting to play Birth by Sleep, then you actually get to interact with Stitch. I love Lilo and Stitch, so I was pretty excited about that. For Kingdom Hearts 3, I think they're putting Big Hero 6 and Tangled in the game itself, and those are
Okay.
two of my favorite Disney movies, so I'm really excited about that one.
I know that that was always one of the things when Kingdom Hearts was coming out, each version, where they would announce the worlds and you're like, "Yes, that world is in there," or really, like I'm not really into that world.
Yeah.
And it was always something where you're wondering what the character designs are going to be when they go into those different worlds, like Atlantica or like Halloween Town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Halloween Town. How did I forget about that one? That one was fun to play through, especially in Kingdom Hearts 2 when you got to go over to Sandy Claus and Christmas Town and everything like that.
Absolutely. It's one of those games where I really just enjoy getting to watch either someone playing it or just watching the full motion videos, because I love the character designs and I love the animation and the story. Even though I've had to read several like Wikipedia sites to understand exactly what's going on with the story.
Oh, no one
But
knows what's going on with the story. Like it's confusing, and so I don't blame you.
another game that you're into, and I have a very close friend and she loves the game series, and I just picked it up last week on the Steam sale, was Mass Effect.
Yes. I don't know why I got so into it, but I think it was because you get to pick your character
Hmm.
as male or female, and Jennifer Hale voices the male Commander Shepard, and I have loved Jennifer Hale since I've been like 5 or 6 years old, so I think that's probably why I got so into it. Her voice acting is spectacular, and she's a wonderful, beautiful person. So, and I've met her a few times, so I don't know. It's just the story itself just enthralled me, and also how you can have so many replays of it, or go through the game so many times, because
Hmm.
every choice you make affects the next one. So I don't know. I really like the lore of it too. Maybe it's because I like aliens, or the idea of living in harmony with them, or the possibility they exist. Who knows?
Awesome. I have yet to play it. I've watched my brother-in-law had, I guess, rented it from Gamefly way back in the day, and I would watch him play it. And the thing that always kept me from really diving in is, again, that whole like actiony first-person shooter type part of the game. I know it's not completely like the whole
Hmm.
game, but it's definitely something where I'm like, am I going to be able to handle doing this? But it was cheap enough finally for me to take the plunge and get the first two, and eventually I'll load it up.
Yeah. I'd say the mechanics in one um, were just a bit unrefined, but I mean, it was the first one that came out. By far, I think the second one is my favorite, in terms of story and the amount of characters you meet, and the side missions you can do, because the amount of side missions that you complete affect the final outcome of the game, and then who would make it into Mass Effect 3.
Okay. I know everything carries over from like one to two and then two to three.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see that being a big replay like draw is being able to go back all the way to the first one, making different choices, and then seeing how they play out. It's almost like a choose your own adventure game.
Definitely. And the DLCs are fun. They're not necessary, but I think if you did choose a DLC to purchase, I'd say the Citadel DLC in 3. It was just really fun because you get to throw a party at your own apartment, and it just lightens up the whole game because the fight against the Reapers, which you're going to find out in Mass Effect 1, would be the thing that it's leading up to. So it takes a whole trilogy to get to that point. And so it's super serious, and, people are probably going to die. But right before you go into your final mission, you get to throw a party with all of your squad mates. So,
Party time.
oh, yeah. You get to see drunk people too. Well, drunk aliens, probably. So, I don't know. It was a fun way to wrap it all up.
That would entice me to get DLC as drunk aliens.
Oh, yeah. Super fun.
Who's your favorite character in that universe?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I really like Liara Tassoni. Maybe that's because I love Ali Hillis, but also I like the Asari lore and their religion and how the fact that all of them are female. There's not one male in the entire race, but they can reproduce with any other race, even if you are
Okay.
another female. It's a little confusing, but I think it's really cool how it all pans out. I'd say I love Garrus Vakarian too. He's my favorite Turian, and people say he's overrated or things like that. But I don't know. He reminds me of so many people. Well, he kind of reminds me of myself in a way, just because when he's around somebody he likes, he gets really flustered and starts tripping over his own words, and then you can tell that he's really into you because he's so nervous, and that was me all the time.
And me. I was just about to say, that sounds just like me.
I never needed to buy blush because I was just constantly red. So I like those two. Gosh, I don't know. There's just so many characters that you get so attached to in Mass Effect. And I think Jack's pretty fun because she's super, super feisty. She's not afraid to call you out on your BS. And so she's a lot of fun, and she transforms, and she becomes nicer. I wouldn't say sweeter, but I think she becomes more understanding and realizes the impact that she can have with her powers um, in the course of the war. So I think just the whole game's just great to me. And some people hate it, but it's probably one of the one things that I'm super looking forward to with Andromeda, because that's the next one that's going to come out. Although it won't have anything to do with Commander Shepard, it'll be really interesting to see where BioWare takes it, since they have a new intellectual property.
Yeah, I'm really curious about where they are going to take it, because I do remember a lot of the outrage at the end of 3 and how people didn't really like it.
Oh yeah, but I mean, in a way, it was justified, just because, like, how are you supposed to end a trilogy like that? Like, there's no way that you can justify a good ending for it. So I think they did the best as they could. So then they left it open ended to continue on with another story.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Now, a game series that I actually get to share with you, finally, not pun related or pun intended, is Final Fantasy, because I grew up playing that on the Nintendo with Final Fantasy 1,
Mm-hmm.
and then progressing forward up until Final Fantasy 10 was the last one I really played.
Ooh, I love
How did you get into Final Fantasy? What was your first Final Fantasy game?
Ooh, man. Let's see. As cliche as it sounds, I think it was 7. Um,
That's I was wagering it was either 7 or 8.
yeah, I played both 7 and 8, but my first one was 7, and I don't particularly remember how I heard about it, but I think it was through one of my friends. because he was like, "You like fantasy, you like RPGs." Like he knew that I was super into the stories. I've always been super into a story in video games. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, fun gameplay is a great plus, but if I can get attached to the story, like I'm in. So 7 was the first one that I played, and it'll be interesting with the remake, um, and the episodic releases. I don't really know how I feel about it, but we'll see. Like I've always
Right.
said with everything that's coming out, I got super attached to that game, and then when I found out that Final Fantasy VII was part of Kingdom Hearts, I freaked out. Like I actually freaked out. Um, and then I remember when they put Cloud in as a opponent in the Coliseum in Kingdom Hearts, and I was so torn. I was like, do I strike him down? What do I do? I just um, and in fact, Tifa Lockhart was my second cosplay that I ever did, but from Advent Children, the movie. Um, but I don't know, it was just the rich character design, and the epic story that they went on that was just the best part of the whole thing. I mean, it spanned 3 discs, and yes, I cried when Eris died, even though it was polygons. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
no! From that moment on, I was hooked. I liked 8, however, I prefer 9.
Okay.
I love 10. I have the original um, PS2 version, and then I have the PS3 version of the remaster, and then I also have the PS4 version.
Okay.
And I bought the collector's edition for the PS3, so I have the soundtrack and the concept art and things like that. I didn't really like 12. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't my favorite. 13, I never finished. I got halfway through it, and I think I got annoyed by the level grinding that I had to do. But the design of it all and the characters and the voice acting, that was great. And just the visual appeal of 13 was awesome. But the story confused me too much also. So I never finished it. So I've never played like Lightning Returns or Final Fantasy 13 2. I am excited for 15 though.
Tell me about 15. I know that it's years and years and years in the making from what I've been reading about, and that the story has changed significantly.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it about 15 that is interesting you?
It probably started when I played the demo. I don't know much about the story because I'm trying to keep myself away from new developments and spoilers because I want to see if it's like the next generation of Final Fantasy to where I get super attached and emotionally invested in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I did download the extended demo that you get to play, and it was just really interesting because it reminded me a lot of Kingdom Hearts, um, with
Okay.
upgraded graphics and character design, and I definitely see things that I could cosplay from it. They also allow you to control, well, they previewed it in the demo where you can change the weather and how it affects everything else. So I think video games are just getting to the point where they're just hyper realistic, and it's just really cool to see how far graphics and game engines and developers can go.
Mm-hmm.
Also, carbuncles, they're super cute. And oh, another thing that I found in the demo was you get to transform or something into different animals. I'm not really sure what the purpose of that is for yet. Maybe it's to have better mobility or have the powers of a certain animal to get somewhere or open a door or break something down. But I remember it was like one time I was a dragon, another time I was an alligator. I think I saw a giraffe. So it'll be
Okay.
extremely interesting to see where they go with it. but I'm definitely hopeful. They haven't really let me down yet.
Right. I don't think I've really been let down by Final Fantasy. Again, I mean, I grew up with it, so my favorite is 2 in the American version numbering.
Mhm.
It's number 4 in Japan.
Right.
But that's my favorite. I never got to play 3, which is a lot of people hold that as like the best of the originals.
Mm,
Played 7, liked it. Played 8, but didn't really progress too far into it. 9 was excellent.
yes.
I loved the throwback, especially with Vivi, the Black Mage.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
Uh,
the origin story killed me. I was like,
oh my goodness! I mean, just seeing the reveal of that was like it just hurt me, and I was like, no, no, not
I was
Vivi.
like, why do you do this to my feelings? Don't you know I'm fragile?
And I love 10. I mean, it gets like crapped on a lot, especially because you're kind of railroaded and you have to just progress the way that they want you to progress
Mhm.
for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love 10. I love Yuna. I love Riku. Orin is pretty awesome. Lulu, Waka. I mean, they just had a lot of fun things and fun characters, and
Oh yeah.
uh,
I just hated how Seymour continually reincarnated to keep coming back to, and I
yes,
just, oh,
yes, it's like you again.
oh yeah. Yeah.
And then one of my favorite scenes was the Yuna wedding scene. Like that was just beautiful.
Oh yeah, when she would fall off the side of the building and
Mm-hmm.
have Valor catch her. Valor.
Yes, yes, that was a beautiful thing. I don't think I played 12 a little bit, but didn't get into it. And then I never played 13.
Yeah. Um, it's funny because the voice of Lightning is also Ali Hillis, who was Liara in Mass Effect. So I was like super hoping I was going to like 13, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just couldn't get into the story that well, and I think it was because I was so confused by it with Pulselessy, Falsy, Cocoonlessy, and just the whole thing of it was just really mind-boggling. And I had tried to read articles about like what differentiates each one and what their end goal is to be, and it just I don't know. I didn't understand it. I mean, I did end up watching like playthroughs of it, and I did see the ending of it, but it kind of just left me scratching my head.
Do you prefer the Final Fantasies that are more fantasy, or do you prefer the ones that are more like with 7 or with 8 or like 15, the ones that are more like technology like more sci-fi ish?
Hmm. I don't really know. I think it's just the way that they're written. If they're written very well into where the world itself makes sense and then also connect with the characters, I think that's what really grabs me. It doesn't really bother me if they're super technologically advanced because that's what Mass Effect was a super in the future alien type thing to where the new technologies allow you to communicate with aliens, and then the Citadel like holds itself up, and then Mass Effect relays and things like that. So I guess it really just boils down to the story. So I like both, but I don't know. There's always something really cool about being able to summon your own dragon. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's where I'd like to be. Have my own dragon summon. That'd be nice.
That would be nice. That'd be pretty awesome. And then, lastly, for games, because I don't want to stick on games too much longer, but one of the things I noticed when I pulled up your Facebook account after Mark Zuckerberg was like, hey, you should check her out, was you were in a Chun Li costume and you were with 2 professional wrestlers, one that I kind of know and one that I really enjoy getting to watch, and that was Kenny Omega and the current name Xavier Woods from the New Day of WWE.
Ah, yes.
And you were doing Street Fight. it was a gaming convention, correct? But you were more like it was more like a Street Fighter tournament.
The event I was at was CEO, which is Community Effort Orlando. It's a fighting game tournament hosted by Alex Jabali. So, fighting game tournaments, if you don't know, it's basically what, you know how people compete in League or Counter-Strike
Mm-hmm.
competitively when you get
Yeah.
sponsored by companies and everything. Well, that's the fighting game community. So everything from Street Fighter to Guilty Gear to Mortal Kombat to Tekken, Smash and Smash Melee. We even have Pokken now. Um,
Okay.
so people from all over the world come in and compete at these fighting tournaments, and they're very cool to watch because um, anyone from an outside perspective would kind of assume that any kind of button mashing fighting game really didn't come with any kind of skill, when in fact that they do, especially when you have people like Daigo or Kazunoko or Tokido come from Japan and compete at such a high level. It's really cool to watch because it's like mental chess with higher reflexes. Like you have to be able to read your opponent or predict your opponent's moves at, the drop of a hat. And so either you're going to get killed by their critical art or you're not, or you're going to be able to block it or you're going to be able to negate it. It's very cool to watch. And, Kenny Omega and both Xavier Woods are two extremely big video game nerds. And so Alex Jabali probably reached out to them and asked if they'd want to come because I know Kenny Omega was there the entire weekend and Xavier Woods flew in on a red eye from California to stay for about a day and a half. And
Mm-hmm.
and Kenny Omega and Xavier Woods both had their Street Fighter exhibition. So the first to win 5 games won. That was really cool to see, just because they hyped up the crowd and people just couldn't really believe that they were there.
Right.
Two high profiler or profile wrestlers came in to play video games with everybody else. So it was cool to see. Kenny Omega ended up winning that exhibition. I believe it's on YouTube. If you do want to see it, just type in Kenny Omega and Xavier Woods Street Fighter V exhibition at CEO. I believe we put everything up there from every match to um, everything that goes on, with professional commentary, no less. And then, oh, they also had a DDR battle. I'm not really sure who won that one, but I asked, and both of them just didn't want to answer the question. So maybe Xavier won. So I don't know. It was really cool to see and hang out with them. And I help work CEO with my boyfriend, who's been doing it for the last 7 years or so. So it was really cool to get integrated into that community as well.
How did you first get into Street Fighter? Was it just by, I mean, back again, I date myself. I remember when Street Fighter came out in the arcades, and that's how I got into playing Street Fighter before it was a video game on
Mm-hmm.
like a platformer or whatever, a system. How did you get into Street Fighter?
It was probably my love for video games and just going to different arcades with my father. And then my sister was there as well. And because you'd need 2 people, I always made her play against me, mainly because she didn't know what she was doing. And I think I was the only one who was able to read the moves list. So kind of took advantage of that. Um, and it was always fun when you would go to an anime convention and they would have a game room, and usually they would have a couple fighting games in there and I'd have fun with that. I'm not good at all. Like I'm just now starting to really understand how to play the game, and now I get to practice using a fight stick,
Okay.
which is basically an arcade setup. that you can plug into a console or your PC. Because a lot of people grew up using those. Um, I did a little bit of 50-50 where I used both a console controller and an arcade stick. So it's been interesting trying to get back into using one, but they're super fun. And I can't play competitively. There's no way that if I entered any kind of fighting game tournament, especially Evo coming up next week in Vegas, like I would definitely not make it out of a pool. I would get eliminated very, very quickly. But I don't know. It's just really fun, and I really like all of the character designs and every new alternate outfit that they bring out. So I've been keeping my eyes open for additional cosplay ideas.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I enjoy getting to watch on YouTube or when they're doing like coverage on different websites of the fighting tournaments, because it's just amazing to see how it's progressed into something this big just from, putting a quarter on the machine and saying that you got next and
Yeah.
learning how to play the game to something now where it's streaming all over the world, and the players are flying from all corners to compete, and like just to watch a match is incredible.
Oh yeah, we definitely had some language barrier run-ins when CEO was going on because if you don't know, CEO likes to turn the fighting game tournament into a show in a way.
Hmm.
So, with every top eight players that get into the top eight bracket to compete on finals day, we allow them to pick an entrance theme, music that they can come out to, and um, the main matches are held in a giant boxing ring. So
Okay.
it's pretty fun. We'll have like a catwalk of some kind, and we had a fog machine, and every top eight player that entered the ring to play their match came out to a theme song. So when Street Fighter came up, and it was literally um, seven people from like Japan and one from Taiwan, I believe. You know, I think Tokido was the only one who had a good handle on the English language to help communicate. Everybody else was speaking a different language, so it was interesting to see how to get their theme songs out of them and things like that. So, but it's definitely very cool to meet people from every country or every corner of the earth and compete. It's such a high level, and not to mention, I'm pretty sure the prize money they walk away with is it's pretty nice. So
Yeah, definitely.
maybe I should have trained in Street Fighter when I was younger, more often.
When back in those days, it was always if you play too much video games, they're bad for your eyes, they're bad for learning, and now it's like, no, video games are really good.
Hey, I think my hand-eye coordination is probably a lot faster than some people. So
Oh,
thanks, video
definitely.
games.
Moving away from video games, we you did mention a show that I love so very much, and that is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, do you like just Avatar, or did you get to watch Korra at
I
all?
did get to watch Korra. I didn't finish Korra. I guess it's because I didn't like the story as much in Korra.
Okay.
But, I have so many friends who are super into it, and now I guess that it's all released. I guess I should probably go back and watch it. I have this thing where I can't watch a show that comes out on like a weekly basis. I need to either watch the entire thing in the span of 3 days, or I just can't watch it. The only exception being Avatar, where I kept up with it every week, and then anything that I missed, I bought on iTunes. So
Okay. Yeah, Korra definitely hits its stride like midway second season.
yeah.
The first season and the first part of the second season is definitely a little bit tougher to get through, but by the end of season, like once you get into season 4, it's an incredible show. But you like Avatar, and I love Avatar, and I have to ask who your favorite character is because there's so many, and the show just defined their characters so well and went into their backgrounds and who they were and evolved them in each of their special ways. I have to know who your favorite is.
Mm, that's extremely tough. I think one of my favorites has to be Sokka. With him not being a bender of any kind, he probably, he felt inadequate or like he couldn't do as much things as other people could, but he coped in his own ways. He fell in love with the moon, and then it turned into, well, he fell in love with a girl who turned into the moon. So I feel like that was a pretty bad breakup. And he's also really funny. He knew when to be serious and when to try to lighten the mood. Um, I really like Sokka. I also really like Zuko, probably because
Hmm.
he struggled with winning over his family approval, and then he realized that no matter what you do, they're not going to respect you at this point because they love your sister more. So something I kind of relate to in a way. Um, so but that, and I also love Dante Bosco, and I've met him a handful of times, and he's just been really awesome every time that I've talked to him. So,
Well, that's awesome.
but the character development in the show um, was just really, really deep, and um, Iroh,
Oh, he's my favorite character.
yeah, in terms of like wisdom and quotes that I remember, had to be him. And just the way he led Zuko to not give in to his inner demons um, was just really awesome. But and then he was always kind to everybody, whether you were Fire Nation or um, a firebender or an earthbender or a waterbender. It didn't matter because you were a human to him. You weren't an enemy, but you were a friend.
Absolutely. I think that's always something that I really liked about him is that when like Toph met him on the road and they shared tea,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's like, "Oh, I invited my friend over," and in walks Iroh, and everyone's shocked, and just like the way he treated everyone, he had his role to play and what he was doing, but at the same time he was like really just being that upstanding guy that was doing the right thing for the right reason, even if it didn't seem that way at the time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It was just it was a good series in my opinion. They definitely ended it a little bit differently than I thought, but I was very happy with the ending. Just because I couldn't see Aang going through with killing the Fire Lord, Sozin.
Mm-hmm.
So, or gosh, it's been a while. Or Ozai. Yeah,
Ozai,
yeah.
yeah.
It was Sozin's comet, and he was supposed to kill Lord Ozai. But I don't know. I was just super invested in it, and it was funny because I got my two little cousins into it as well. Um, so that was cool. We never actually did get to cosplay together, but you know, it's because they live in New Jersey and I live in Florida, so it's probably why. But um, Avatar was actually my very first cosplay that I ever did, so it was kind of fun.
Right. Let's talk about that. How did you decide on Avatar being your first cosplay?
Let's see. It was MetroCon like 2013 or 2014, I believe. And I think the show was either still airing or it had just finished. And I remember my friend Weiwei asking me at school if I wanted to go to a convention. And, I'd been to a couple of them before, but I had never been with friends. I always made my father take me, and he didn't mind because he was super into Star Trek and Star Wars. So while he was playing with the model R2D2s, I was out running around doing something else. But she asked me, and she was like, "Do you want to cosplay?" And I was just like, "What do you mean cosplay?" And apparently that means wearing costumes at a convention and emulating your favorite character, but it wasn't Halloween. And that was just a super appealing thing to me because I've always wanted to dress up and have fun and do a character that I really like. And I went with a group of friends and we all were super into Avatar: The Last Airbender at the time, and we found out that Janet Varney, who was the voice of Korra, and Dante Bosco, who was the voice of Zuko, were also going to be there. So we were just like, why don't we do Avatar? And so we picked their beach outfits because by the time we decided we wanted to go, we were all kind of short on time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I had a sewing machine, but I didn't really know how to go about drafting my own patterns. So I had my friend Capezio do my Azula. I ended up being Azula. And my friend Jeremy was Zuko. My friend Crystal was Suki. And my friend Weiwei ended up being Toph. So, I don't know, mixing Fire Nation and Earth Bending and the Kyoshi warriors into one giant group was just kind of fun.
And from there, you have progressed into more cosplaying into different characters. Like you had mentioned Tifa from Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Yes, that one was difficult just because of all the pleather, and thanks Square for having the most awkward but also useful character designs because of her weird apron that she wore in Seven, because I ended up making pockets into those, and so I kept my phone and my wallet in there when I was at cons. It was just a really fun costume to wear. However, it was very hot, and then when it finally fell apart during MegaCon 2015, I just got kind of sad. I really need to go back and remake her. What other cosplays have I done? I've done Ada Wong from Resident Evil 4 in her red dress. That one was a lot of fun. That was the first one I actually ever got professionally shot by somebody. So I have a really big attachment to her, even though walking around and fighting in heels wasn't an ideal situation.
Is it ever?
No, never. I never understand how um, developers ever put their characters in heels, and so they can do backflips and um, splits and run around with guns or in a dress as a secret agent, and then also kill lots of zombies. So, never really made sense to me, but at least they're fun to create and wear. Um, I've also done Blake Belladonna's Beacon uniform from Ruby. I've done Chun-Li's Ultra Street Fighter 4 alternate, just this past CEO. I've done Ryuko from Kill la Kill, although I don't think I ever got any photos of her. Yeah, I think those are the things that I've mainly done. I have a couple more plans, but I'm not really sure when I get to start them. MetroCon's in a couple weeks, and I'll be taking photo shoot slots for that instead of doing cosplays.
Okay.
But maybe I'll do something for Anime Weekend Atlanta in September. So we'll see.
Awesome. And so now you're more transitioning from cosplay to actually doing the cosplay to being a photographer for it.
When I was in high school, I was in yearbook and I was considered a photographer. And before that, I had dabbled in photography. I had bought myself a Nikon. Granted, I really didn't know how to use it at the time because, you think you have a DSLR and you think you're the coolest photographer ever, but you just use it as a point and shoot camera. It wasn't
Right.
until I hit high school and then talked to friends that I finally started to learn how to properly use it and set shutter speeds and apertures and use manual mode. And lately, I've gotten into using speed lights and flashes. That adds another dimension and also another expense on top of all the photography equipment. But, it's worth it. It's a return investment. I really like how with cosplay photography, you can tell a story, especially if you know the character extremely well. You can just visualize it and want to know where to place everything, how to recreate one of your favorite scenes. I think at some point. I'm going to help with a shoot that has Cloud and Eris in a lake or a river, rather.
Oh, wow.
And so we're going to try to recreate some things underwater, maybe, or just recreate that scene from Final Fantasy VII. So it's been a lot of
That's awesome.
brainstorming, but I think it'll be a really nice payoff in the end.
Definitely. That's like iconic right there with Cloud and Eris.
I really want a Zac too, though. Like a couple of my friends do really good Eris is, so I'm hoping that one of them will agree to be Zac and let me shoot it because I got super invested in Crisis Core.
And where can people find you out on the internets if they want to follow you, whether it's just looking at your cosplays or looking at your photography work or just keeping up with you in general?
Um, I have a Facebook page. I believe that's Pikaklutz. So Pika, like in Pikachu, and then Klutz, like Klutz. Mainly, I got that name because when I hiccup, I sound like a Pikachu, and then I have a really bad habit of tripping over my own feet. So that's why people sometimes call me Pikaklutz. In terms of like Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at Rachael, which is my name. So Rachayel. And my friend Anthony gave me that name because he was confused by the fact that I had an extra A in my name. Um, Mainly because I think my mother, when she adopted me from China, she forgot how to spell Rachel. So I think she just winged it. I'm not really sure if that's the actual story, but that's the story I like to tell because it's more entertaining. Oh, your name's spelled like that because it's a typo. But you can spell that by Rachayel again.
Okay.
So, as far as social media, I think that's it because that's both my Instagram and my Twitter and then my Facebook page. I'm pretty sure I don't have anything else.
And I'll have the links up on the show notes and on our Facebook page as well. So everyone can go click on it and check out all your awesome stuff and see the pictures of you with Austin Woods, or as he's called now, Xavier Woods, and Kenny Omega from CEO, which is awesome.
Yeah, they're super nice people. And then both of them are super into Pokemon Go lately, so I think.
Yeah, I've been doing that with my kids. I hand off the phone while we're driving, and it's the oldest one's responsibility to hit all the Pokestops and try to catch as many Pokemon as we are passing through whatever section of town we're in.
Oh yeah, I admit I've probably spent a little bit too much time trying to catch Pokemon, but it's better than a drug problem, so it's fine, probably.
Absolutely.
I mean, unless you're throwing Pokeballs and driving, then I'm going to have a problem.
Yeah, I've encountered some people doing that in our neighborhood. We have a little downtown neighborhood where I live, and it's a problem. There's people pulling over just suddenly, and I'm like, I know why you're pulling over. I know that there's like 3 Pokestops in a gym right in that section. So yeah, it's definitely something that's really cool, but at the same time, it's like it could be worse than texting and driving.
Yeah, it probably is.
Well, I appreciate your time so much, Rachel, for coming on and doing this podcast with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Even if you randomly found me, I'm glad you found me.
I am glad that I found you. It's pretty awesome that I just stumbled across you like that. So again, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, for like this whole like suggesting people thing, because this is a good suggestion.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was definitely a lot of fun and something that I've never done before, so can check that one off my bucket list.
Check one bucket list off. Done a podcast.
Yep, I never actually thought I'd be able to do one, but yet here I am. So it was definitely a cool experience. So thanks.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate having you being like the your first time for podcasts. Yay!
Woo! I mean, I never actually thought that over 800 people would like my nerdy costuming, but here we are again. So I don't know. It's just kind of cool how similar interests, especially when people are so emotionally invested in stories and just different universes, can bring it together and just kind of appreciate art in every sense of the word, whether it be through cosplay or photography. It's just kind of a cool thing to be a part of.
Absolutely, and it's just so much more accessible now these days.
Oh yeah, the internet is everywhere.
It is. Well, thank you so much again, and I hope you have a great day.
Well, you too. And I hope you guys all enjoyed learning about how nerdy my life is, even though I was late to the game.
That's okay. There's never a late period. Everyone's can come when they come.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.